I think I have like 2 or 3 more states to go, and it's just crazy to see how much we have done so far. As you already know, we are back on our US tour with the top 10 Delaware scary urban legends. I'm your host Andrew, and if you're new, be sure to tap that subscribe button. So let's get right into this. At a number 10 spot, we have the ghost of Mr. Chu. Once upon a time in Dover's Green, Delaware, there was once a man named Samuel Chu who served as the chief justice in the town. Despite his position, the townspeople made fun of him for his name, pretending to sneeze whenever they saw him. You know, like, Chu? This constant teasing eventually took its toll on Samuel Chu after he passed away in 1743. It seemed that his death didn't bring him peace, as his ghost soon started haunting the town immediately. The first person to report an encounter with the ghost of Samuel Chu was farmer David Hendricks. He claimed that on a cold autumn night, the ghost appeared to him dressed in the judge's robe and white powdered wig. As the farmer was on his way to the tavern, the ghost chased after him, causing him to run home in terror. The story of the ghost quickly spread throughout the town, and soon after, residents reported sightings of this apparition as well. Over time, people in Dover became afraid to leave their homes after dark, and the once thriving taverns in the town started to empty out. The tavern owners became worried about their livelihood, and so one of them, Mistress Van Loon, called the town meeting to discuss a solution. She suggested that the ghost could be laid to rest by giving him a proper burial. The town agreed, and Samuel Chu's ghost was given a grand funeral in an ornate grave. Although the ghost was said to be satisfied with his new resting place, there was still tales of him roaming the streets and tormenting those who made fun of his name by sneezing when they hear it. Number 9. Fort Delaware. Fort Delaware, located on Pea Patch Island in the Delaware River, is a piece of American history that has been preserved to this day. The fort was first built in 1859 with the purpose of protecting the ports of Willingham and Philadelphia during the Spanish-American War. During the Civil War, it was also used as a prison camp for Confederate soldiers. The conditions at Fort Delaware were brutal, however, and many prisoners perished as a result, leading to reports of ghostly apparitions and strange occurrences that still persist to this day. With nearly 13,000 prisoners kept in wooden barracks, conditions at this fort were inhumane. Food rations were small and almost inedible, water was putrefied, and prisoners were subjected to torturous conditions, such as officers throwing rats in the crowds for their amusement. Scurvy, smallpox, and severe malnutrition were widespread. It is not surprising then that many of the 2,700 men who perished at the fort, as well as those who lived to be freed, continue to haunt the prison to this day. Visitors to the fort report a range of supernatural activities, ranging from being tapped on to feeling as if someone is breathing directly on them. So if you dare, you can actually take a 5-hour tour here for paranormal purposes only. Number 8. The Shelbyville Swamp Monster. The legend of the Shelbyville Swamp Monster has been known to the residents of Delaware since early 1960s. According to the tale, a grotesque creature dwells in the Great Cypress Swamp, terrorizing locals and visitors alike. However, the truth behind this legend is far more intriguing than the story itself. In 1987, it was revealed that the entire monster hoax was created by Ralph Grapperhaus, the editor of Delmarva News, and his friend Fred Stevens. Grapperhaus, who is known for his love of a good prank, Stevens, who was 26 at the time, dressed up in a costume made of his Aunt Dorothy's old raccoon hat, a mask, and a club, and then hid in the shallows of the woods. He would jump out at passing cars on Route 54, creating the illusion of a monster inside of the swamp. The news of the alleged monster sightings soon spread like wildfire, and a photo of the Shelbyville Swamp Monster even made the front page of the Delmarva News on April 23, 1964. Stevens even participated in the hunt to find this creature, adding fuel to the fire of the hoax. However, Stevens eventually stopped the charade out of fear for his safety. It was until 23 years later that the truth behind the legend was finally revealed. Despite the revelation, residents continued to report sightings of the monster in the Great Cypress Swamp. Some people believe that the creature was not entirely a hoax and that a monster still may be roaming the foggy shadows of the swamp. In the 1920s, a couple of hunters reported hearing loud, inhumane screaming, followed by sounds of something large and heavy racing towards them. This has led some, including local author Andy Nunes, to question if there may be some truth to the legend after all. Number 7. Catman's Grave. The Long Cemetery, also known as Colonel Armwell Long Cemetery, is located at the end of an old dirt road in southeastern Delaware. It was established as a family plot for Colonel Armwell Long, who served in the Revolutionary War, and his family after his death in 1834. The land was later turned into a public cemetery in his memory, with Armwell being the first official burial. One of the most famous stories related to the cemetery is that of the Catman. The Catman was a former caretaker of the cemetery who lived in a nearby home and was known for chasing away any teenagers who came to the cemetery to cause any sort of trouble. After his death, the Catman was buried in an above-ground tomb in the cemetery, but even in death, he continued to watch over the cemetery and was still said to take care for it. However, the tomb was torn down in 1994 due to vandalism, and the Catman was given a regular in-ground burial. People who saw the tomb before it was torn down reported seeing strange scratches on the inside that were said to resemble those of a cat's claws. It is believed that if someone knocks on the wall of the cemetery 3 times, they will summon the Catman, who will cause a visitor's car to fail, making it difficult for them to leave. Despite no longer being the caretaker of the cemetery, the Catman is still said to have no patience for anyone messing around in his cemetery. Number 6. The Old Maggie's Bridge. Located on Woodland Church Road in Seaford or Woodland, Delaware, it is known for being one of the most haunted roads in the States. This is what it looks like in the daytime. Looks pretty normal. Well, you're wrong, cause this short bridge holds a dark and eerie history, as it is said that a young woman named Maggie Bloxam was decapitated in an accident on the bridge in the late 19th century. To add to the horror, her grave can be found in a local cemetery, with the cause of her death being listed as young and pregnant. Maggie's spirit is believed to still haunt the bridge, searching for her lost baby and possibly her head. According to local legend, if you visit the bridge at night, you should get out of your car and yell into the night, "Maggie, Maggie, I have your baby." People have reported seeing figures moving about the woods on either side of the bridge, and photographs often come back with orbs dancing in the dark, and it is said that the best time to visit the bridge is during a full moon, when Maggie can be seen in all of her ghostly glory. There are multiple accounts of cars acting strangely on the bridge, with engines failing to start, gears shifting out of place, or the car moving on its own after the engine has been turned off. These experiences has led regular paranormal investigations at the site, and many locals swear that Maggie's ghost is still very active and can be seen on the right nights. In the hump of our list, we have the Pugwudgi. The Pugwudgi is a mythical creature from Wampanoag folklore, originating from Delaware and Prince Edward Island. According to the legend, the Pugwudgis are a human-like creature that can appear and disappear at will, and they also have the ability to shapeshift, use magic, launch poison arrows, and create fire. They are known to cause trouble for those who annoy them and are considered to be hostile to humans. Native American folklore suggests that the Pugwudgis were once friendly to humans, but then turned against them out of jealousy towards the cultural heroes Michelle and Granny Squanit. Ever since, the Pugwudgis are said to have kidnapped, attacked, and blinded their victims, and now are labeled as dangerous creatures. They are known to have caused mischief and torment to the Native American community, and are said to have killed Maushop's 5 sons, while some variations suggest that they may have killed Maushop himself. Whether or not you think they are good or not, they are definitely a creature best to avoid. Number 4. The Zwaanendael mermaid. In the early 17th century, Dutch settlers attempted to establish a settlement named Zwaanendael in what is now Delaware, USA. Although the colony was short-lived and destroyed after a single year, it is now remembered as the first European settlement in the area. To commemorate the 300th anniversary of its founding, the Zwaanendael Museum was created, showcasing the history of southeastern Delaware. And this thing, yeah, I don't know about that. This is a supposed mummified mermaid that was given to the prominent Martin family by a sea captain and eventually lent to this museum. The mermaid, however, is not the beautiful mythical creature that one might expect. Instead, it has a simian face with large rigid eye sockets and a wide toothy mouth. Its hands are clawed like a reptile, and its torso is covered in bony ridges. The creature is small, less than a foot in length, and its skin and scales are ashy gray-black. But in reality, not to burst anyone's bubbles, the mermaid is a clever taxidermy specimen that bears a closer resemblance to a Fiji mermaid made classic by P.T. Barnum. This tradition of taxidermied monsters can be traced back to the Misemono, a type of carnival in Old Edo, which is modern-day Tokyo, where mummified mermaids and other supernatural creatures were displayed as carnival attractions. These creatures were believed to bring good luck and fortune to attendees, and were often constructed from the bodies of fish and small monkeys dressed with papier-mâché, wood, and lacquer. Over time, these fake mermaids or ningyo made their way overseas and became popular curiosities for sailors from America and Europe, where the folklore behind the creature was lost, leaving a blank canvas for new mythologies to be written. Number 3, the Odyssey Inn. The Odyssey Inn in Bethany Beach, Delaware is a charming Victorian-style bed and breakfast that was built by the Addy family in 1902. This historic establishment is also known for being one of the most haunted places in the state of Delaware. One of the most famous hauntings at the Odyssey Inn is that of a copper bathtub in room 1 that vibrates mysteriously. Guests have reported experiencing the tub shaking violently, and the story of the shaking tub has become one of the most well-known tales associated with the inn. There are also reports of eerie organ music heard coming from room 6, despite no organ being present in the room. Guests have reported the ghostly apparition of someone running through the hallways at night, accompanied by the smells of perfume and the sounds of mysterious music. Room 11 is believed to be haunted by Paul Delaney, a former handyman who worked for the Addy family, while Curtis Addy's ghost is said to roam the roof of the inn, restless after falling to his death from the roof many years prior. Number 2, the Governor's Mansion. The Governor's Mansion, also known as Woodburn, is a grand and historic building in Dover, Delaware. This stately abode was constructed in the late 1700s by Charles Hilliard III and has served as the official residence of Delaware's governors for many years. But there's more to the story of Woodburn than just its impressive exterior. For generations, people have whispered about the ghostly happenings that seem to occur within its walls. The first recorded instance of paranormal activity dates back to just 25 years after the house was built, when Charles Hilliard III passed away. According to the legend, the owners of the mansion at the time invited a Methodist preacher to stay with them. During a morning prayer session, the preacher requested they wait for the other guest who was staying in the guest house. The couple claimed that there was no one else visiting, but the preacher went on to describe his ghostly roommates in vivid detail, matching Charles Hilliard III's appearance exactly. Since then, many have reported strange and unusual occurrences within the mansion's walls. Some say that the ghost of Charles Hilliard himself still roams inside of this building, and that if you leave a glass of wine on the stairs for him, you'll find it drained by the morning. Other ghostly sightings included the screams of a slave who was caught and killed near the mansion's porch while running from slave hunters, and the ghostly figure of a young girl dressed in a gingham dress and bonnet carrying a candle and roaming the grounds. Whether you're a paranormal enthusiast or simply a lover of all things historical, the Governor's Mansion is definitely worth a visit. Number 1, the Dead President's Hub. The Dead President's Hub and Restaurant in Willingham, Delaware is a popular gathering spot with a rich and spooky history. The pub is located in a historical part of the city and is known for its presidential memorabilia and paranormal activity. Despite being in business only since the late 1990s, the two-story space has a long and varied history, having served as a private residency and several other businesses, including bars, over the years. Visitors of the pub claim to feel a dark and heavy presence, with strange occurrences such as glass rattling on their own and rooms becoming extremely cold all of a sudden. Late at night, employees have reported hearing childlike giggles and witnessing dishes flying across the room. One ghostly figure that is rumored to visit the pub regularly is Lemonade Mullery, who is said to have died from a fall in the bathroom in the 1960s. Several paranormal investigation teams have been drawn to the pub to study the ghostly activity, and they all agree that the place is teeming with entities that feel like they're part of the staff.